Alright, we are here for our after stream report. Been a little while, but we got some work done over the last few streams. So first off is we set up Tungsten Processing here, which after a little bit we're going to mess with, but take a little ferberite here with some hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid, if you remember, was made over there on the acid line. We got a nice tank of it downstairs. And after a little bit of time here, we'll get tungstenic acid, and this one gives ferrous chloride. Now you'll notice that we have manganese chloride, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, lithium chloride, and now ferrous chloride. Now these are going to need special processing. Most of them will have to go through a smelter, and then that will go into an electrolyzer at 42 EU, which will give us chlorine and manganese for that one. Magnesium, we can do a mixer with water, and it'll give us this biophyte dust. We can dry that back to magnesium chloride and water, or I'm not real sure what you need that for, but what we will be doing with it is you can use it for plastic. So we'll be doing that soon enough. But you will also get this magnesium chloride when you make the titanium tetrachloride. So it's which one do you want to use it for? You can also do inorganic salt mixture. This is a GT6U thing. We're not messing with that right now. But the main thing is you'll turn it into molten magnesium chloride and electrolyze it again for 42, and that'll give you magnesium and chlorine. Then there is the calcium one. That is the same thing. Smelt it, calcium, chlorine. The ferrous, same exact thing. That gives you iron and chlorine. Now the lithium chloride, that is actually one that you will put in water. This is a special little process here that will definitely need to be done, but we will put lithium chloride in water because lithium chloride is a salt, and it will give us out small piles of lithium hydroxide, chlorine, hydrogen, and oxygen. And the lithium hydroxide can be put in to make lithium chloride with molten lithium chlorate and water, which is just putting it right back where we just had it. But the lithium chlorate we can mix with oxygen, and that'll give us lithium perchlorate, and that is what we need for our more endgame batteries. So we will be saving the lithium chloride for setting up that process later on. We will eventually, here pretty shortly actually, be setting up for all the rest of those. But once you get your tungstic acid, that goes over here, and it gets dried. This is a long process, by the way, so you guys know while this is running, this part and this part are exactly the same for GT6 and GT6U. This part is only different in GT6U because it needs a heat mixer instead of a regular mixer. The recipe inside here is exactly the same. It's hydrogen and the tungsten trioxide that we will be getting out of here, and then that outputs your tungsten dust. So if you're doing GT6, you'll need a regular mixer. If you're doing 6U, you'll need a heat mixer. Now, one thing we are going to do today is we are going to automate this a bit, but before we get to that, this is our aluminum line. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, this can be done before you set up all these mixers. The main thing you need is the cryolite and the aluminum fluoride, and we will go over how that is obtained when we look at the mixers here. But you also need alumina. So let's start at the beginning here. So this looks like a little bit of a mess, but I will do my best to explain it. So we have an autoclave which runs off of steam, no power of any kind needed. And you put your bauxite in here with sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide coming from an electrolyzer runs just off of a bronze gas turbine, or you can use a gas engine, or you can use a bronze engine, or you can use a bronze turbine, steam turbine. Any of them will work to do this. We are using the gas because we're in 6U, so we have them, and it is just water and salt. You can use rock salt or regular salt, it doesn't matter, because you'll get sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, and both will work in here with the bauxite. So if we hit U on the bauxite, you'll see sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide. So we will get out either potassium aluminate or we will get out sodium aluminate, along with a 50% chance twice at ilmenite or tiny refined piles, and a 50% chance at 1 rutile and distilled water. So we have our ores coming in the top here. We have bauxite just piled up here that will drop in, and then the output will go over here to the bath, and as you see, it is running right now. It has to have water or distilled water, and it uses the sodium aluminate and the water to give you aluminum hydroxide and sodium hydroxide. Or if you're doing it with the potassium, it'll be potassium hydroxide. And this is a closed loop system between here and here. So once you get your stuff from here, it'll go over here. And then that is why we have this loop here. This is a restrictive pipe that makes this the last chance. And then this one goes all the way back over here. and comes back in this side. So you see everything goes out there. We also have this chest. The way GregTech pipes work, for anybody that doesn't know, the shortest distance is the first place it's going to try to go. So, because the bath is sitting right there, it is going to attempt to put the sodium in there, and then all of our tiny refined ilmenite and rutile come down here. Now that will eventually be sent over to the shredder and will get shredded up for us to process that stuff when we need to do titanium. Now, the aluminum hydroxide comes into this chest, which is waiting for the smelter to run, which melts it down to molten alumina. And we have a mold here that is turning it into ingots for us. Now we can finally go over to the aluminum processing line, and let's start at the very beginning. So this is sulfuric acid in the first one. Let me grab the there we go, that'll work. So any fluorite, doesn't matter what color it is, goes in this first one here, and it will turn into, there we go. So any kind of fluorite and sulfuric acid will turn into calcium sulfate and hydrogen fluoride. Now we are just putting that into a barrel for now, and then that is piped out the back here and comes over to these two machines. And you'll notice this one's turned off. That's because we don't want any more going in there for the moment, because we have all of the cryolite that we need, and we wanted to get some over here for this machine. So I will show you these two recipes together. So first is, let's go for the other one first. It's a pure process cryolite. There we go. So for the cryolite, you'll need to take a little bit of the alumina over there, which can be dust or it can be ingots. You'll need some sodium hydroxide, comes from the electrolyzer I just showed you a little bit ago, and the hydrogen fluoride from our first mixer over here, which makes water, and our molten cryolite. And molten cryolite is one of the two fluids that we need to make aluminum. And then the other mixer, the one we're standing at here, is actually running any kind of sodium dioxide. So any quartz, flint dust, even the pink fluorite blocks can be shredded down into dust and used here. You'll see there's a whole bunch of different recipes. There's the actual sodium dioxide, there's red quartz, there's the quartzite, black quartz, so on and so forth. And that will give us hexafluorosilactic acid and water. And that will come out and come over here. And it will be mixed with more alumina, which again can be the ingots. And that will give you aluminum fluoride and water. And the aluminum fluoride from this pipe right here comes over to this smelter, and that will give you your molten aluminum fluoride that's needed in the electrolyzer. So a little bit of carbon, which can be from coal or charcoal or coal coke. And I do believe even lignite will work for this. Let me double check that just to be sure. Carbon, graphite, that can be done as well. About anything that has carbon content to it. It does have to be in dust form. So there's the coal. And there's the charcoal. There's the actual carbon. And yep, lignite is not one of them. So for any of the carbides that we'll be doing later, we will need carbon. So this is a really nice way of getting carbon. Just take some coke or some charcoal, turn it into dust, throw it in here, and by the end of the process, which I'll show you in a second, you will have actual carbon. So 10 alumina, which needs to be in ingot form. Good thing we have that over there. With 3 coke or 3 coal or 3 charcoal, 2 liters of the cryolite, 4 liters of the aluminum hydroxide. These will last forever because of how little you need of it. And that will give you your 4 aluminum dust, some CO2, and some fluorine. Now the fluorine can be mixed with aluminum to make aluminum fluoride, which if you remember, we put in here. So it can be turned right back into one of the 2 that we need with using a little bit of actual aluminum instead of having to go through this whole process for it. So then you have CO2. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here so this can get processing. So then you have CO2, which will come in here, and it has a selector tag of 0, which will take the CO2 and split it into hydrogen and oxygen. So to show you what we got going on here, again, we have bronze gas. This one needs to be steel because this is a 42 instead of a 16 recipe. Again, you can do a steel engine, a steel gas turbine, a steel steam turbine. It's up to you, depending on if you're on 6 or 6U and what you have available for fuel. Now, what we have done is downstairs there's a tank for the CO2 because we didn't have this hooked up the first time. And you will need to have the fluorine go out. So we have this tank up here that is capturing our fluorine for now, and then that will be used later on. Now that I have explained everything we've done here, I'm going to take some of the aluminum, which is actually over here already done for us, turn it into a blank cover, which is as easy as an aluminum plate, an aluminum screw, screwdriver, and a hammer. Makes you your blank cover. Now these covers can be used just as they are. So be careful, don't click them onto something or it will be stuck there. Although if that happens, you can always just pop that off. Now the nice thing about having it on there is, if I can find, there we go, a chisel, can do the Greg gear, the Greg face in a gear, a blue plate with the Greg gear, the Greg face, all nice and colored. So it's always nice to have Greg overlooking your crafting, and every now and then you can just punch him in his big nose. But I digress. Let's actually get to work here. So what we are going to do is make these fluid filters. We are going to set some stuff up with those today. Now we need zinc foil to do so. We're going to pop this on here. Look, if I hit the right buttons on the bender, small side, we get zinc foil. Now the extruder has a foil, but it only works for plastics, rubber, and wax. It does not work for anything metal. You will need a cluster mill for that. So we are just going to throw this stuff in here for the moment, and we'll deposit it later in the shredder. My inventory is a little bit of a mess today. There we go. Now the filters, you can make an item one if you need so, just by doing it like that. These can also be used if you need the big block filters, or if you need a filter that is an item and fluid, you use one of the fluid, one of the item. For the item, you use both. For the Ordic pre-filter, you use both. Then you also have the retriever. But what we want, again, is the fluid. So I'm going to make about 5 of those. Now we are going to go, and I better keep the crowbar on me just in case. And we're going to grab a germanium hopper. Let's grab 2 of those actually. We're going to go set some stuff up. So first things first, that is pretty good and automated. The only thing we need for this setup is a cooler to make the alumina solidify faster, but that'll be later on down the line. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we did put a gibble meter on here. This will run very, very long without overpressuring, but eventually it will. So we have a gibble meter set to 81, so as soon as this thing takes 1 tick of pressure, the redstone will go down. There's a piston under this block. It'll pop it up and turn it off. And then this was added by XAR. He moved my stuff around. He didn't like the way I had the pipes done. I actually had the bath back here. So this is a tank of distilled water. If it ever gets empty or less than 100, it will also shut it off. That way the boiler never shuts off, since we don't have our distilled water perfectly automated over there. But what we are going to do First, we're going to take this chest out of here. We're going to put a pipe here. We're actually going to put 2 of them. And I have no idea what he's doing other than making noise. And we're going to put these 2 hoppers on here. And if we look at our ferberite here, we need 6 of them. If we look at the hydrochloric acid in the bath, ferberite needs 6, cuberite needs 6, Light needs 6, tungstate needs 7, wolframite needs 6. So what we're going to do, I'm actually going to take this chest, I'm going to throw it right there, and I need to go grab a screwdriver real quick. Good thing about eating fruit, gives you a little. And I'm going to put it on the crafting list here for XAR to make us both a pocket tool. That way we'll always have a screwdriver on us. But what we're going to do, we're going to have this set to 6. We're going to set this one 7. Now I'm going to throw the ferberite in there, wolframite, ferberite, cuberite, light. Then over here we'll put the tungstate. And now you'll see the ferberite is in here, and so is the wolframite. But the wolframite will not go out unless there's a divisible of 6. So we will end up with some of these out of here. There we go. So now this will sit here, that will sit there, and that will sit there. You'll see they're not dropping out. Back in. Now those will run in here only in the divisible of 6. Same with our tungstate. You'll see I only have 4 of, so it's staying right there. And that is a good way of automating this. Now what we can actually do is put the barrels over here and automate our dust for those to come right over here, just like what XAR has done here with this line, which is all of our things that need to go into the roaster. We can do the same thing over here. We'll probably set it like right here for all of the things that need to run through the tungsten line. Put a hopper under each one of them that's set to 6. Run it into this pipe. But for right now, a simple chest for each 6 or 7 will do the job. Now, we need to move this chest. We'll just pop it out, which is going to make a hell of a mess. We're going to pop this one out as well. And now we are going to put in a pipe. Come up and into there. And for this one, because most of these things can be put into that smelter, we are going to use an item filter. which I will need to make. Let's drop all of this here. I'm going to throw this one back here for a moment. I'm going to throw some of the stuff that I do not need in my inventory, because there is a lot of it. Alright. So, all of that's going to go in here, and we will have this pipe that will come here and drop it down like that. And we already have our tungstic acid in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a cover on here once he gets it made there, which will only allow the tungstic acid in here, which, now that I think about it, I better make a chest for that. Because there's going to be, when we do a big, well, I will wait and we'll put a mass storage on. That's what we'll do, because it's going to have a bunch of it. Like I said, this is a very slow running machine, and it will eventually go where it needs to. Let's go ahead and turn this back on, let it start running and doing its thing, and I can now turn this on. This one is very fast, so you'll want to let it build up a bit before you turn it on. But there you go, you guys can see that we get our tungsten out here. We'll turn it back off. We have so much gas that a lot of the machines around here just sit and run, even though they ain't got anything to do. So it's not a real big deal. It's a nice thing about having that infinite gas vein that we have down there. Now, the other thing, the reason why I made these filters is you can see this is a large rubber pipe, which is going down that way. Not quite sure why it goes down that way, but we are going to change this pipe out. Okay, pipe is empty at the moment. We are going to take that out of there. We are going to grab the rest of these pipes here. We're going to put these pipes together, which is going to make a quadruple pipe. And we can pop that on here. We are going to set this up here on the top, which if I do this, you can now see that it is up there. What that's going to do is it will not allow anything through there but what is set on the filter. And I need to find a drum, which finding a drum sometimes around this place can be a bit of a pain. He does a lot of clicking. Oh, there we go. Alright, so we have a drum. And we also need a tap. We may not need the tap, but we're going to take it just in case. Alright, so we have CO2 backed up in there. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take this, and we're going to hit the tap, and now we have, crap. Keep forgetting it always wants to take the input side first. So now we just took all of our cryolite out of there, when what I wanted was the CO2. So we need to put that back in, which what we're going to do is the cryolite comes out here, so we will get stainless steel pipes, which now that we have our rubber, we don't have any stainless steel pipes right now. Alright, well, right now we're going to sit that right there. I'll get us some stainless steel in a second. Let's get this CO2 dealt with. Now we'll do it the other way. I should have CO2 and fluorine in there. So what we can do is open this that way, put the tank on. That gives us our CO2, which is what we want. We want to set this on the filter. So just right click, and now that is the CO2. So now we can run our large rubber pipe right across to there. And the only thing that will go through there is the CO2. You'll see now the fluorine is stuck in there. So now we'll take the fluorine tank and we will put it right there. And we'll connect that there. Now, if I was running this to a large tank, I would put a filter on that as well, which we may do eventually down the line. But right now, it's just going to go to that tank. So that means that only the CO2 can go this way, and only the fluorine can go that way. Alright, so that's now empty. Close that up. That makes that just a little bit easier to make sure everything goes where it needs to go. Now this one is only ever going to do CO2, so I'm not sure why he has this, because it's only carbon and oxygen. Not quite sure why he used the quadruple here. But what we really need to do, let me get that tap. Is downstairs here, we have our 3 tanks over here. This one is hydrogen, this one is oxygen, this one is chlorine. And we have this nice pipe running across the top up here, which is a quadruple. And it is coming from the electrolyzer right there. So our oxygen, our hydrogen, and our chlorine come down. Now, the problem is that if we use up all of the hydrogen, which doesn't happen, any of the fluids can go in here if the tank is empty. Right now, only hydrogen can go in because, well, that's what's in it. But we have been having issues with running out of oxygen and hydrogen going in both of these tanks. What we're going to do is we're going to put this on that pipe. We're going to put this on this pipe, which apparently already has one, which it does. So that will only let the oxygen go in that tank. Then over here, we're going to put one there that will only let chlorine go in that one. Now what we need to do is take our empty drum here. We're going to pop this on here. We're going to do that, which will give us, this is a gas, not a liquid, so tap is not going to work. We actually need a valve for that. Oh hey, he gave me my item filters. Now I can show you how we're going to do this. So we are going to pop this off a second. We're going to put the pipe down. We'll put the item filter right there. Grab some of this. We're going to smack it on there. Pick this back up. Pop it back in place. That will only let the tungsten trioxide go in there. And because we have 3 pipes going to there, 4 pipes going to here, only this stuff will go in there unless the smelter is full. Like I said, this thing is very, very slow at what it does. Way slower than this. So what we need to do then is we need to back this pipe up. We need to put it here with this one here. So now, yeah, here. Wait a minute. Not that pipe. Can't have a pipe inside the line. What we actually need is a chest. And I am stealing this one. Back with you later. So, item pipes do not go, items don't actually go through the pipe. They sit here till they figure out where they can go. So you can't put a filter in the middle. It has to be on the destination or on the entrance to the pipe network. Now, if you need, you can use an extender. That will work. So if there's a certain spot that you need, you can always use an extender. But we don't need that. because we can do this. Now we can put this here, going there, and then that will give us the exact same thing. Now you can see tungsten trioxide is already starting to go into that box from here. We now should get no more in this box. And like I said, most of those are going to be melted down. So we'll use a lot of these item filters, setting them to specific smelters. That way we don't end up getting things clogged up. But again, that'll be done later on. So now we have that nicely automated. We have this changed over. I don't know why he wanted my drum here, but I need a gas nozzle, which I'm looking to see if there happens to be one around here. If not, I will make us one. There has to be one around here somewhere because he set the oxygen one, but I'm not quite sure where he put it, because there's funnels and there's taps and a button, but there's no gas nozzle. So let's go get us some stainless steel. We technically don't need stainless steel because this isn't an acid, but always nice to have one. We don't have plastic. We could do ceramic. We have tungsten, but we're just going to do stainless. So we need a ring, 2 curve plates. In here should have stainless steel. We'll take that, and you may notice we have a better extruder now. We upgraded that, so now we can do all of our metal stuff in here, not just plastics and low heat stuff. We can now run any of them, and we have curve plate mold. We already have this on and we need curve plates. We're going to go ahead and just use that instead of hammering them. And that will give us ring and our 2 curve plates. Now we can go make a gas nozzle. Now, where is that small bending cylinder? We may not have one. I may have to make one. I thought we had a small bending cylinder. And again, I know we have to have one because somehow got that oxygen on there. But we will go ahead and make one real fast here. So, bending cylinder, like that. And need, oh, that's the plastic one. That one. So we need hammer, file, and saw. Hammer, saw, file, small bending cylinder, and we need hammer and the bending cylinder. So like that. There, and there is our gas nozzle. The reason why we do stainless is that just in case we ever need something that is acidic, this automatically will work for it. The only thing we really have to worry about is if it's too hot. And we won't run into that too often. So, we're going to pop that there. There is our hydrogen. Now, pipe is empty. Back it there. Now that is set to hydrogen. So if for some reason we run out of hydrogen, we have plenty of security that only that will go in there. Now we're going to do the same thing over here for the chlorine. Ooh, that one. Now we know that neither one of those gases will ever mess up and go in the wrong tank. Same with the oxygen because, well, it was already done. Because like I said, we've been running into that problem of running out of oxygen because we've been trying to roast stuff. And roasting stuff takes oxygen. Alright, so this has been a bit of a long post-stream video, but we got a little bit of work done around here, a little bit of automating, went over the bauxite processing, tungsten processing, and aluminum processing. So with that, we can get to a distillation tower, so we can get to plastic and electricity. So that is our next stage. Now, like I was saying, and I don't think I finished earlier, you can do aluminum in a before you do tungsten. You just need a bath and a measuring pot to pull the stuff out, the molten stuff that needs to go in here, to put it into here. And you can even do it without the mixers if you use a mixing bowl, if it can handle acids. I've never tried it. I've never understood why you would want to skip this to get to aluminum. It's literally 3 machines. And then you don't have to mess around with trying to get this stuff in here without a smelter. So, even though tungsten seems like an end game material, if you played GT5 before, you'll understand that. In GT6, it's actually not. You make typically tungsten before you make aluminum and before you make titanium. So titanium will be our next one. So hope you guys enjoyed. There will be a much shorter tutorial for tungsten and tutorial for aluminum processing coming shortly. Have a good one, guys.